This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to The Great Love Debate, the world's number one dating and relationship podcast. Since 2015, I am back in the very lovely studios of Pod Populi, podcasts for the people. And right up front, first thing today, we've done over 300 episodes of this esteemed podcast, and I don't think we have ever gotten more feedback on a show we've done than we received for the one that we did the last episode, the Sugar Daddy one. You guys are both really curious, which is good, and really frustrated with dating, which is bad, and you're also really intrigued, which is for you to figure out. You figure out your path, but we're trying to at least keep you on whatever path you're figuring out. So, as always, thanks for listening. As I mentioned previously on a bunch of episodes, I'm sure, I devour a ton of news every day. Every single day. It drives me nuts to not know what's going on. From all sorts of sources. I like to know what's happening. I like to feel in the loop. I don't like the feeling of something happening without me knowing about it or being involved in it, or more importantly, having an opinion on it. My worst nightmare is having somebody ask me something and not have 300 very well thought out and eloquent words in the holster ready to fire back at them. But as you're probably aware, whether you are a keen observer of current events or not, news stories, especially in a clickbait culture that we live in, they tend to either be fabricated or exaggerated to get attention. So a writer, blogger, reporter, alleged journalist, they may hear of something happening once or two people engaging in something or some activity, and suddenly it shows up in the New York Times as a trend. This is the hottest trend or the latest trend, and it's really not a trend. It's a couple of people doing it, and the journalist is like, oh, I see a story here, and suddenly it's in the New York Times, and millions of people believe something is a trend when it's really just two people in Brooklyn doing something that nobody else is doing. It's not a trend if nobody ever heard of it, and almost nobody is engaging in it. And because media outlets absolutely love the dating and sex and relationship stuff, which is very good for our business, obviously, excuse me, they tend to latch onto every half-baked term or talking point, and they try and spin it as a trend. So I think that started, I think the first one was cuffing a few years ago, which then turned into cuffing season, and that turned into a more mainstream term used to describe how you simply could go out at night in Chicago in the summertime, and you couldn't anymore because the weather turned miserable, so you might as well just hook up with your neighbor or make your neighbor your girlfriend or boyfriend for 3 months till the thaw comes. Okay, so they labeled a term for an activity that was not a trend. It was something that people had always been doing, but somebody put a label on it. So the word cuffing, it actually had some behavioral significance, and it, for better or worse, has stuck. Catfishing. That's another term that didn't really exist 15 years ago. It gained some significance and traction as online dating began to grow because people were obviously hiding behind fake personas and profiles. But then it got this bigger societal stamp of approval when MTV decided to do a show about it. Okay? You want to get in the mainstream culture? MTV is going to do a show about it. But then we got into these little micro behaviors. And I get called to do interviews about them or comment on them all the time because of, the status of this show, and people think I have something to say. So I get asked about them, and they ask me, and they'll email me or they'll call me and say, you want to come on and talk about kitten fishing or flea bagging? And then when the reporter asks me these things, my answer is some variation on, that's nothing. That's not a real thing. That's somebody sitting in a room and trying to come up with something clever to add to the the modern vocabulary. They want to be somehow some sort of nomenclature trendsetter. And it's really just, I'm trying to be super clever. And I'm trying to get out front, and I'm trying to label something that is just normal behavior. And a huge percentage of these terms tend to fall under the auspices of a term that didn't have a name 20 years ago, but certainly the behavior did and has been around for millions of years, or at least as long as we have been around, and that is ghosting. So that's where we're going to take a deep dive today. I want to give you sort of the definitive definition and explanation of what it is, when it matters, why it doesn't, and most importantly, how to get over it. So let's start there. Since Adam and Eve, there's always been a situation where somebody just didn't like somebody anymore. And there was no goodbye, there was no neat ending, no movie-style tearful parting. It was simply, that was that. And for millions of years, it was actually sort of fine. I'm sort of bullish on ghosting. People think I'm kind of a dick about it, but I think if you don't want to see someone again, or somebody doesn't want to see you anymore, oh well, that's it. And just quitting it cold turkey is not the worst thing in the world. We didn't used to be such babies about it. You didn't used to have to call somebody who you went out with a handful of times and very politely explain to them that you don't like them. And that just seems weird to me. I don't want somebody politely telling me they don't like me. You're basically putting a little polish on something it's the old lipstick on a pig. Like, you don't like me is really the nugget here. I don't care how politely you tell me or don't tell me. You know, back in the day, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, you simply didn't call them back, or you didn't call them again. Don't call us, we'll call you. And honestly, that was absolutely fucking fine. And in the days and the dates before you were actually in a committed relationship, exclusively dating, boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, you could and you can pull the parachute whenever you want, however you want. That's how I feel about it, especially the ladies. You aren't feeling it. You see red flags. You don't feel entirely comfortable, and you're not completely into him. Fuck him. You don't know him, a phone call or a text or a farewell, you can delete or block or move on without a second thought or a moment's notice. Because guys can be dicks, and they don't take rejection well, and they don't take no easily, and they can be manipulative, and it's sometimes not worth the headache when he doesn't want to hear your explanation anyway. He doesn't want to hear your polite, I just don't think this is a fit. You owe him nothing. Boop. Goodbye. And guys, you owe her nothing, this person that you went out with once or twice or three times before this sort of pre-relationship status. Not if she isn't your girlfriend. Not if you haven't gotten anywhere that's anything in terms of a relationship. And as we talked about ad infinitum on this show, there is no such thing as closure. Things don't end neatly. You're never going to get the answer you want when you want it. I would rather have somebody lie to me than tell me they don't like me. What would you rather hear? I don't think this is a connection, which is the truth. Or, listen, I am so attracted to you, I will never be able to get my work done and I'll lose my job because of thinking about you all day. Give me that one. Give me the second one. Give me the lie all day long. I feel great about myself if you just give me that response. But basically, you're asking somebody to bullshit you. So asking for one extra piece of bullshit out of a person, that's not necessarily better either. When did we get to this point? How did we get to the point where we had to tell somebody that we didn't like them? We spend a ton of time on this podcast talking about ways to communicate that you are into someone, that our signals are not getting picked up on. The reason we spend less time on telling people that you don't like them is, honestly, who fucking cares? Who cares? Why do you need to know? To satisfy your curiosity? Here is your answer. And you can plug and play or copy and paste whatever you want to do with this. Here's your answer of why you haven't heard from them anymore. They just didn't like you enough. They didn't like you. They're just not into you. Oh well, too bad. The end. That's it. Dating is not neat. Things are always messy, and fraught with bad communication, especially early on. And online dating has made it worse. Not that you're less likely to make a true connection that way. I have come around on that, and I think you're just as likely to make a true connection that way, because eventually that how you met is going to move offline and move somewhere else. So you're not less likely to make a true connection that way. But the whole online dating landscape is set up with a distancing, a technological barrier of protection between you. We hide on the way in and we hide on the way out. That's the way we are. I care a lot more about us hiding on the way in, because hiding on the way in takes you out of the game and doesn't give you as many chances or possibilities if you're hiding. On the way out, I don't care nearly as much, because that's the way it is. It's over. C'est fini. So we're not close to c'est fini, el fin, finito. But we do have to take a quick break, and then we'll get into how to do it and how to deal with it right after this. And we are back. And before you get all, he's such a dick. Brian's such a cold, unfeeling bastard, especially you Gen Zers and you sensitive young millennials out there. We did come up with something that seems to work for everyone when it comes to parting ways amicably. If you don't like someone or you don't like them enough, you need to handle it Shark Tank style. And I know all you guys watch Shark Tank because you all have some terrible idea for a product that won't change the world. It won't. I'm sorry. And you simply turn on your hidden Mr. Wonderful and say, I like you, but I'm not feeling it. And for that reason, I'm out. Okay? Just like they do on the show. I like you, I'm not feeling it, and for that reason, I'm out. On Shark Tank, when that happens, the contestants, they simply nod their head, they take their medicine, and that is it. It's clean, it's quick, it's neat, and it doesn't require any more explanation beyond that. The Shark Tank contestants aren't like, wait, no, Mr. Cuban, you don't understand the revenue model. No, that's it. It's done. Game, set, match. So my Shark Tank one-liner probably would work most of the time, but sometimes life and love and dating doesn't fit into a neat package, no matter how clever and practical your thinking is. So let me back up a tad and explain further. When do you owe somebody something? And the short answer is still almost never. If it's somebody you've been messaging with online and then suddenly you don't want to, or you meet somebody else, do you owe that person you were messaging with a formal goodbye? No, you do not. And if they need a formal goodbye, that person's fucked up and you shouldn't have been dating them in the first place. If you went out for drinks with someone and the next day you decide, it wasn't that great, do you owe that person a phone call to tell them? No, you do not. If you went out to dinner with someone where one of you, and I certainly hope it was him, spent, I don't know, $140 and 3 hours of time, do you owe them a text or a call to say you don't want to do it again? No, you do not. But you do owe them a thank you for last night. And then that's it. That's the end of it. Thank you is goodbye. It's appreciative and it's dismissive. You might never see the person again who held the door for you at Target. You owe that person a thank you. You don't owe them a formal farewell. Same sort of thing. Now, did you spend some time in an outfit and some emotional capital on someone you went out with once or twice or 3 times? And did you have so much fun when you went out with them and even more fun when you went home with them and then you never heard from them again? Oh, well, that's dating. You had your fun. Be appreciative for that. And on to the next. You really want to hear, oh my God, that was so much fun, we won't be doing it again? That's what you want? That's the response. You want that? You need that? Of course not. It's the pride and the curiosity that is interfering with your logic. Enjoy what you had. Don't focus on what you don't. You most certainly will be better off. You know, there was a friend of mine who was on a podcast a couple years back, Maybe it was the Great Food Feud. I think it was the Great Food Feud. It's another show I do.